Now, Pope Francis has been laid to rest at Rome St. Mary's Major Basilica in Italy. Earlier, thousands of mourners, including some world leaders, gathered at the Vatican City to pay their final respects. The Pope's coffin was then carried into a mobile, transporting it to his final resting place in Rome for a private burial. Unlike previous popes, Francis' final wish was to be buried outside the Vatican. Latin America's first pontiff died on Easter Monday, aged 88. Father Solly Mphela of OFM, a council of priests, joins me now to just reflect on the proceedings of this funeral that took place earlier today. Father Solly Mphela, thank you so much for coming into studio and for discussing really what was a sacred and auspicious occasion. Wouldn't you say it was quite a befitting and simplified but dignified send-off?
Well, good evening, Master, and also good evening to all the viewers. It was really a touching ceremony and of a humble man and also humility. You could imagine, you know, from the St. Peter's Square, when that coffin moved with the papal mobile, actually the car which he normally uses when he goes around in the Vatican. Now, that chair now was not there because it has to accommodate now the coffin. You know, so sad, but also remarkable and something we're not going to forget at all, you know, between the Basilica of St. Peter's to Maria Maggiore, where his body will be laid to rest.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting, as you're mentioning as well, that mobile. There were quite intricate sets of rituals that took place as well. If you could just take us through some of them and the significance of these rituals.
So beautiful, yes. Remember, rituals that speak more than words. First, when they came in, you know, taking him out of the Basilica to the square itself to put him in front of the altar. When the cardinals, they took off their mitres, you know, that sign of respect, when the coffin was passing with the pallbearers, and they laid it in front of the altar, which is part of the ritual, yes, and you could see the incensing, you know, the body or the coffin, yes, that coffin of Pope Francis, and also blessing with holy water, the celebration of the Eucharist from beginning to the end, the readings. I remember part of the first one was done in English, the second one in Portuguese, and the gospel was done in Latin. Now that signifies the richness of the church and the language of the church. Then towards the end, actually, you see others who are not wearing red, who are a little bit white and blackish-like. Now, here we are talking of the Eastern Orthodox. Yes. Now, the church is so rich in such a way that when it had difficulties, we had that kind of the movement of the Eastern and the Western Rite. Now, those who were wearing the white thing were from the Eastern Rite, and they sang in Greek, meaning that the language also, Greek, is very, very important because it's part of the culture and the tradition of the church itself. Remember, the Old Testament, the originality of it is written in Greek. Now, after that, we have seen, I mean, all the celebration of the Eucharist, which, again, each and every Catholic who passes from this world, you know, Mass is very important to bid farewell with the celebration of the Eucharist. The Paschal candle, which was just in front of the coffin, reminding that, you know, we are the Easter people. Despite of whatever happens through our life, we'll rise with Christ. Well, we might say Pope Francis, yes, has died or has passed on, but his legacy, his memory, the Paschal candle reminds us there is life, you know, after death. As Jesus died on Good Friday, he rose on Easter. That is why we brought the Paschal candle to signify the importance of one of the rituals in the burial, you know, in the Catholic Church.
And Father, as you're speaking, we can see the visuals that, you know, from earlier today as well. It's quite remarkable to think about the kinds and the number of world leaders that gathered to bid farewell to Pope Francis, putting their differences completely aside for this one occasion as well. Speaking volumes of just the way he was able to unify people as well, even amongst much conflict too. Who do you think will be able to unify opposing world leaders the way Pope Francis was able to do that in such a special way? I mean, when you look at those visuals of seeing the US President Donald Trump, the Ukrainian president, we know the Russian president, we saw